If you guys have been following along with my shop renovation, you might have noticed I've been avoiding showing one part of my shop, and that's the room that'll be my finishing and metalworking room. And why have I been hiding it? Well, this room is kind of a hot mess. It's jam-packed full of stuff, there's no lights, no climate control, and it looks more like a place where someone would be tortured than somewhere I'd want to work. And in this video, I want to get this room whipped into shape, and that all started with unearthing the room so I could start working in it. I also got some temporary lighting set up so you could actually see what I was doing, and then I could continue with some demo work. So back when this building was a cabinet shop, this room housed their spray booth, complete with an exhaust fan, and this is part of the reason I was so excited to get this room put together. That was until I removed the panel covering the exhaust fan and decided to investigate things a little further. Well, I've barely gotten started, and of course things are already off to a little bit of a rocky start. So when I opened up the ceiling here in the booth area, I wanted to go ahead and also go up to the attic and see what the specs of the actual fan were. And when I opened up the enclosure for the fan, I was definitely pretty disappointed because what I found was a dinky little 15-inch like attic exhaust fan, like $100 fan, that does not pull nearly enough airflow for this kind of setup. That fan's rated at something like 1500 CFM, and I'm looking at fans that are rated at least 8000 CFM. So definitely not the fan I'm looking for. And so I actually went ahead and emailed the son of the person who owned this shop way back in the day when this was a cabinet shop, and he sent me a photo of what this paint booth setup was like, which was really cool. I love seeing what the shop was set up like back in the day. As you can see, they had a legit paint booth setup with a big 24-inch tube axial fan, as they call them, and these are commonly used to exhaust paint booths like this. And so basically, this giant behemoth of a fan pulls air through the filters on the back wall, and then takes that relatively clean air up and shoots it out the side of the building as exhaust. And so I think this whole time I'd been working under the assumption that there was a big fan in the enclosure in the attic because there's a giant hole in the side of the building, about 2 feet in diameter. And so I just figured the fan was the original fan, and unfortunately that is not the case. So I'm gonna have to kind of put a bit of a pin in the fan situation right now because of course it's the middle of summer, it's June right now, so a lot of these fan manufacturers are super backed up. I'm just gonna soldier on with getting the rest of this room set up, and then we can come back to making it a spray booth a little later. So while I worked on finding a fan for the space, I continued the demo process by removing all the old electrical enclosures and lighting, all of which I'd be replacing. After getting rid of all this stuff, there was a ton of random hardware scattered across the floor, and the easiest way to get rid of that was with my magnetic floor sweeper. And this thing is so satisfying to use because after running it around with it, sucking up all of the metal bits, I could just pull the handle to disengage the magnet, which allowed all that metal debris to drop right into the trash can. While I was looking at the floor, I decided to also go ahead and start cleaning up some of the insane paint buildup from when this room was a spray booth. And you can see all of the layers of the paint on one of these chips, and this is kind of similar to Fordite. I also got my RoboVac running, and of course it got stuck within minutes when it wedged itself under my tool chest.
That didn't take long.
So I don't really need the floor to be perfect in here, I just want it to be smooth enough to roll around casters, and I ordered a tool to help with that, this Milwaukee SDS Max Scraper. And I did a quick test section, and this thing is an absolute beast, and I'll be doing more scraping work later on.
That's crazy.
My next priority was getting a mini split installed in the room, since being able to control the temperature in the space will be extremely important when I'm doing things like applying finishes and pouring epoxy in this room. I used a new style of mini split from Mr. Cool, which they call their out-of-sight model, and this is otherwise known as a cassette mini split. And these are really cool as they're mounted flush with the ceiling rather than on a wall, and most importantly for me, they have a mechanism that makes the filters way easier to clean, which is something I have to do very regularly in this dusty shop environment. To be able to install this style of mini split with the drop ceiling I'd be installing in the room, I needed to build an enclosure which would house the unit and allow the drop ceiling to run around the unit. My dad and I got this assembled using a few pressure-treated 2x12s I had left over, and these things were insanely twisted, and we really had to persuade the pieces together with a ton of clamping and structural screws. Once we got the enclosure assembled, we could get it mounted in the room, which was easier said than done considering this thing weighed a ton. I figured the easiest thing would be to mount some blocking to the joists, and then we could screw the edge of the enclosure to the blocking. To hold the other end, we cut some scrap blocks and sat them on the pieces that were already attached to the wall in the room. And even with this support, it was still a real struggle to get this thing in place, but eventually we got it done and I got the enclosure leveled with the help of some clamps. I added a handful of Tapcon screws to lock that side of the enclosure to the wall, and came back and added more blocking and screws to the other side, and needless to say, this thing is not going anywhere. With that done, I got the mini split prepped for mounting by adding the electrical cord, and this is a little different than other Mr. Cool units which have the cord already attached. Next, we used the included template to mark the holes for the lag screws, which were used to mount the unit. I pre-drilled the holes and then we got the unit mounted, which was easy enough using the included lag screws. The next day, my buddy Eric Perkins and I grabbed some lunch, and then he gave me a hand getting the drop ceiling installation started. And I've got a whole video on this process, so I'm going to gloss over the details here, but basically we started by installing the wall molding, using a line laser to make sure we were running level. Also, I am so glad to be done installing drop ceilings after this, mostly because this punch tool was a piece of junk.
Why is it stuck every time?
Because it's a piece of stuff. It's a piece of stuff. Where's Ray, man?
Dude.
Ray was doing this all last time.
Yeah, that was too bad.
I didn't even realize how crappy it was. Anyway, we got the rest of the wall molding installed and then added the first 2 runs of the main beam before I had to run and pick up my kids from summer camp. The next day I got the cross tees installed in this row and then added the LED lights, since adding a little weight really helps to stabilize everything. I got the last main beam installed, added the rest of the lights, and then got everything wired up so I could finally have some good lighting in this room to film the rest of the project. Since these lights pull so little amperage, I could add them to the same circuit as the lights outside the finishing room, and once that was done, I could fire up the lights for the first time, which is always really satisfying. With the lights on, I turned back to the mini split install and got some holes drilled in the enclosure so I could run the electrical and line set to the mini split. And this was really easy in the wooden enclosure, but I had to pull out a slightly bigger tool to go through the concrete block wall, my SDS Max drill. Alright. And I honestly never expected to use this thing as much as I have, but it makes short work of drilling holes through these walls. I used this long pilot bit and checked outside to make sure there weren't any obstructions, and then I came back with this monstrous 4-inch core bit to drill the final hole. I finished the hole from outside the building to avoid blowing out the concrete, and then I could get the outdoor unit mounted with the help of my dad. And this thing was extremely heavy, but thankfully it wasn't too bad moving it around the back of the building with the help of some moving straps. We got the wall bracket locked into place, got the outdoor unit lifted into place and bolted it down, and then we could run the line sets inside. Before I fed in the line sets, I added the outside flange, slathering on plenty of Lexel to seal it to the building, and then my dad ran inside to help feed the line set. Once it was fed inside, I could get it connected to the mini split, which was as simple as threading together the 2 connections and checking for leaks. Also, I got about 1 billion comments on one of my other mini split videos about how stupid it is to check for leaks before opening the king valves, but these line sets from Mr. Cool are pre-charged with refrigerant, so you want to check for leaks at every connection point along the way. If these leak at this point, you'll need to pull a vacuum on the lines, which is something you don't typically need to do with this Mr. Cool system, as long as you avoid leaks. Next, I got the condensate line plumbed, and this is another place where this install is different from a standard Mr. Cool unit. And I think because these are designed to be installed through interior spaces, they want people to use a more robust condensate line in the form of PVC versus their standard plastic hose. and I just glued together 2 elbows so I could get the drop I needed while still ending up above the drop ceiling where the line exits the building. With that done, I could install the other mini split in the addition, which was just a standard Mr. Cool unit. And I don't think I've actually mentioned it at this point, but I'm installing a multi-zone system here. And these 2 rooms were the last 2 spaces in the shop that weren't climate controlled, and my big compressors live in this addition, and I definitely didn't want them overheating once I installed the air system as part of this finishing room. Next, I ran the electrical for the outdoor unit, which was simple enough.
Ooh, yes. All right, cool.
And then I could get the line sets connected to the outdoor unit. And I framed this shot thinking I was going to be attaching these to the topmost valves, when in reality I needed to attach them to the bottommost valves, so excuse the poor framing, but I think you get the idea here. Once the line sets were connected, I could open the valves where each line set attached, and then open the king valves, which let all of the refrigerant that was inside the unit into the line sets. And out of all the times to check for leaks, this is the most important, because if there's a leak at this point, you've got a big problem. Thankfully, I didn't have any leaks, so I could head inside and get the line set connection insulated with the included insulating wrap before adding the faceplate. And this was definitely a little tricky by myself, but thankfully this piece is pretty light. Also, typically you'd have drywall surrounding this opening, but I left it off for the video so I could show you guys how everything worked. After getting the panel attached, I connected all the wiring for the faceplate, and then I could flip the breaker on the unit to energize it for the first time. As you can see, it immediately started retracting the filter and also closed the louver. Finally, I installed the Wi-Fi dongle, and then the unit was ready to fire up for the first time.
Phew, okay. Moment of truth. It's on. Let's see if it starts cooling. Oh yes. Cool air.
All right, so it is feeling really good in here. It's always so satisfying to get these things turned on for the first time. So the other cool thing about this cassette unit, which is something I avoid doing on a lot of my other mini splits, is how you clean the filters. So let's check that out. I haven't even tried it, but let's see how that works.
So I think the first thing you gotta do is turn the unit off. And then I should just be able to hold the mode and down buttons on the remote. And then if I hold the down button, that's pretty sweet. So the filter is coming down. It's on these little motorized cables that will let the filter down for easy cleaning. Otherwise, you got to get up on a ladder. It's kind of a pain. So this is really, really cool, especially in a shop environment. These filters need to be cleaned more regularly. And this was one of the things I was really excited about. So that is so cool, because now you can vacuum off this filter and then send it back up without ever having to get on a ladder. That is so awesome. It is not the fastest thing in the world, but you only gotta do this like once every 2 months. So with the mini splits all set up, I could continue with the renovation work, and next I got the conduit run from the panel so I could run a few circuits into the space. Also, after going back and forth about it, I decided to go ahead and pull down the boards that were mounted in the room because I figured they wouldn't be in the spots I really needed them. And I learned my lesson after pulling down the first board and smashing my pinky, and instead stood on a ladder when removing the rest of the boards, and this kept me out of the path of the board as it fell and was a lot safer considering these had dozens of nails sticking out of one face. And half the time the board ended up breaking before the nails pulled out, and I can't imagine how hard they had to pound these nails in when they were originally installed. It is insane how strong these nails hold. It's just nails. That's it. No Tapcons. I guess these are like spiral nails. Honestly, I don't know. I've never used this kind of masonry nail. But man, they're strong.
I continued clearing out the room, getting more boards pulled down, and also moving the big pile of leftover sheathing from the tiny house, which I'm still not sure what I'm going to do with. There was also a random pile of steel bar stock that I had never noticed before, and I'm not sure if someone was doing some blacksmithing in here, but this stuff will be handy to have on hand here in the metalworking room. I vacuumed up the area and got the last couple boards pulled down, and then I could turn my attention to the door opening for the room. So
So as you might have noticed, there's actually a roll-top door installed here, and I plan to use this door to quarantine the room after applying finish to help keep the dust out. And the cabinet shop had built out some regular man doors, which have since been removed, and I went ahead and pulled down the framing to give myself a nice big opening into the room. I've also ordered a motor for the door so I can close it from the outside, and I actually think this should work really well. The next day, my dad came to help get the ceiling tiles installed, and we tag-teamed the work, with me adding the cross tees around the perimeter of the room while he installed the tiles. After installing the cross tees, I got the conduit and boxes installed, which I wanted to do prior to painting. And I've got quite a few videos on the electrical work I did here at the shop, and this really wasn't much different, so go check those out if you want to see the nitty-gritty. One thing I did do a little differently was add an extra box so I can wall mount a light on either side of the room, and these will work as a raking light, which should make it easier to see exactly where I've applied finish. I ran the conduit and boxes all the way around the room and used up some of the last pieces of conduit I had salvaged when I gutted the electrical towards the beginning of the renovation process. My dad also got the tiles wrapped up at this point, and it's amazing how much brighter the room was after adding the tiles, plus the echo was drastically reduced.
So the next thing I want to do in here before getting it put back together is to get it painted, but for some reason my sprayer is acting up, so that'll have to be in the next video, so go ahead and get subscribed and ring the notification bell so you don't miss those videos. Also, I have links to all the tools and materials I used in this video in the video description below. And last, if you want to support me, check out some of my woodworking plans or some of my merch. Alright, thanks for watching y'all, and until next week, happy building.